Fear does not remain shapeless for long. It presses outward, looking for edges, looking for explanation. Uncertainty can be endured, but only up to a point. When fear lingers without clarity, it begins to demand meaning. People talk, not always loudly, not always openly. Conversations lower their voices, questions repeat themselves, details are shared and reshaped. Fear moves through language, through tone, through emphasis, through what is repeated and what is left unsaid. In places already under pressure, fear looks for structure. It searches for patterns, for causes, for something that can be pointed to and named. Because living inside not knowing is exhausting. And exhaustion makes people reach for certainty, even when certainty is incomplete. I'm Jenny. I love history and I am fascinated by the moments where human psychology collides with it in the worst possible ways. In this series, I explore crime through context rather than spectacle, asking not just what happened, but what kind of world made it possible. This episode is about explanation, about what happens when fear stops being background noise and starts asking to be understood. People rarely sit with fear in silence. They try to organise it. They compare notes. They replay conversations. They search for links between moments that once felt separate. Patterns begin to emerge, not always because they are real, but because they are needed. Fear feels more manageable when it has a shape, when it can be described, when it can be shared. In Whitechapel, stories began to circulate. Some were careful, some were speculative, some blurred the line between observation and assumption. Language sharpened, certain details were repeated, and others quietly dropped away. What mattered was not accuracy, but coherence. Because coherence offers relief. It suggests that fear can be traced and therefore contained. Repetition gives fear weight. A single story can be dismissed. A single worry can be set aside. But when the same details surface again and again, they begin to feel significant. Fear becomes heavier when it is shared, passed from person to person, rephrased, reconfirmed. Each telling strips away uncertainty and replaces it with confidence. Not because the story is more accurate, but because it is more familiar. Over time, explanation turns into belief. Belief turns into expectation. And expectation reshapes how events are interpreted. Ambiguous moments are no longer neutral. They are folded into an emerging narrative. What once felt disconnected now feels linked. What once required explanation now seems self-evident. This is how fear gains momentum. Not through sudden revelations, but through gradual agreement. In this process, doubt becomes uncomfortable. Questioning the story feels like resisting safety, and so the story holds. Not because it is complete, but because it provides relief. Fear resists complexity. Complex explanations demand patience. They ask people to hold uncertainty a little longer. But fear shortens tolerance. It looks for something smaller, something clearer, something that can be grasped. Multiple causes feel unsatisfying. They spread responsibility. They blur edges. A single cause feels cleaner. It offers focus, direction, a place to point. As fear settles, explanations begin to narrow. Details that complicate the story fade. Details that reinforce it are kept close. This is not deception. It's relief. A single explanation suggests that fear has limits, that it can be understood, that it can be addressed. When fear is given a cause, it begins to feel manageable. And once fear feels manageable, it begins to feel named, even before a name is spoken. Organising fear brings comfort, but it also brings consequence. When a story begins to settle, it shapes what people notice and what they overlook. Attention narrows. New information is filtered through what is already believed. Ambiguity becomes inconvenient. Contradictions are smoothed over. The story doesn't need to be perfect. It only needs to feel right. And once fear has been shaped into meaning, it begins to guide behaviour. People move differently. They interpret events differently. They prepare for what they now expect to happen. Meaning offers orientation, but it also limits imagination. Other possibilities recede. Other explanations lose urgency. This is how fear stabilises, not because it has been resolved, but because it has been understood in a particular way. And once fear is understood, it becomes ready to be personified. This episode was never really about answers. It was about why answers become necessary, why uncertainty becomes intolerable, and why, in moments of collective anxiety, meaning can feel safer than accuracy. History doesn't repeat itself exactly, but it does show us how fear moves. From sensation to story to structure. Thank you for listening. Until next time, take care and be gentle with what history leaves behind.